It is time for Money, Power, Politics. And before we get to the story of the day, we have some breaking news. Just moments ago, the president posted on social media that, quote, all trade negotiations with Canada are hereby terminated. He claimed that the country fraudulently used a TV ad featuring Ronald Reagan speaking negatively about tariffs. Meanwhile, tonight we are all asking one question. Is the White House for sale? A few moments ago, we mentioned that President Trump has now pardoned the founder of cryptocurrency exchange Binance, known as CZ, which undercuts what was part of a key Justice Department effort to crack down on crypto crime. So here's what you need to know about all of this now and why it matters. Binance is the world's largest cryptocurrency exchange. CZ's net worth, more than $85 billion. Well, back in 2023, he pleaded guilty to violating anti-money laundering rules. He was sentenced to 4 months in prison, and Binance was ordered to pay more than $4 billion in fines. But here's what is critical to this pardon: his ties to the Trump family crypto venture, World Liberty Financial. The Wall Street Journal reports that Binance has also been a key supporter of that business, which has meant a huge boost to the president's personal wealth. And here's what the president had to say when he was asked about the decision to pardon CZ earlier. Watch this.
A lot of people say that he wasn't guilty of anything. He served 4 months in jail, and they say that he was not guilty of anything. I don't know him. I don't believe I've ever met him. But I've been told by a lot of support. He had a lot of support. And they said that what he did is not even a crime. It wasn't a crime, that he was persecuted by the Biden administration. And so I gave him a pardon at the request of a lot of very good people.
But it is important to note that CZ himself admitted that he broke federal law by failing to install strict compliance systems at Binance. Joining me now, Ken Vogel, New York Times reporter who has been covering this story. His new book, Devil's Advocates, The Hidden Story of Rudy Giuliani, Hunter Biden, and the Washington insiders on the payrolls of corrupt foreign interests, is out now. And Max Chapkin is back with us. He's Bloomberg Businessweek journalist and host of Bloomberg's Everybody's Business podcast. Mr. Vogel, since you have been reporting on this pardon yourself, we know Binance and Trump's crypto business are closely aligned. Tell us how this pardon came to be. Clearly, there was a very big lobbying effort.
Yeah, that's right. CZ and Binance hired a number of people around Trump, including a hunting buddy of Donald Trump Jr., who we actually saw at the White House just last week, talking to both Donald Trump Jr. and the president, and also a lawyer who was a former SEC staffer who also happens to be the lawyer for World Liberty Financial. So she's representing both World Liberty Financial and Binance and CZ, and played an integral part in this pardon push. So there's real connective tissue there between World Liberty Financial, the Trump family cryptocurrency business, and Binance, in addition to the business deal that World Liberty was involved in facilitating. It's a $2 billion deal between the UAE Sovereign Wealth Fund and Binance, financed using World Liberty Financial. So for a lot of Democrats, the potential of this pardon raised concerns that this was just sort of like a sweetener to facilitate future dealings. And I think now we could see what it will mean, because this is going to be potentially quite disruptive to the cryptocurrency market in the United States, potentially allowing CZ to enter in a big way, in which he was sort of prohibited from doing as a result of this conviction.
Well, today the White House press secretary specifically said Biden's war on cryptocurrency is over. Binance put out a statement thanking the president for, and I want to get the quote right, for his commitment to making the U.S. the crypto capital of the world. I am old enough to remember when Trump thought crypto was a fraud. He wanted nothing to do with it. Now look at it. He's a crypto king, pardoning the biggest guy in the game.
I mean, we've seen a lot of pardons. We've seen a lot of actions by the Trump administration that feel motivated by deals that have happened on the side with Trump's companies. This one was the most staggering for me, not just because of the size, this $2 billion investment that Binance facilitated, which, you know, is going to wind up being worth tens of millions of dollars to Trump, the Trump family's company, because they're going to put that money essentially into T-bills and get interest on it, but also just because of what was accused of Binance when CZ, Changpeng Zhao, pled guilty. The U.S. government said that they had been facilitating payments to Hamas, to sanctioned individuals. There were chats that came out in court documents with Binance executives talking about, laughing about Hamas buying AK-47s, about looking the other way on crime. And these are not necessarily, these were not like random employees. These were people in chats with senior executives who were involved in the compliance part of the company. Now, to be clear, Binance, CZ, they did not plead guilty to those specific crimes, but these are in court documents. These are chats. These facts have not been challenged. What Binance has essentially said is that it wasn't on them because they are just an intermediary. And yes,
which is always the defense of crypto companies that are potentially laundering dark money. I'm just the exchange, but funneling payments to Iran, Cuba, Syria. I mean, this is crazy.
You know, this company was seen, I'd say, as the most aggressive. Been covering this company for a long time. They were seen as the most aggressive company in this space. This company was sort of going around the world, essentially jurisdiction shopping. They started in China and were essentially tossed out of China. Then they moved on. They were in Malta for a little while. And for years, they were trying to get into the United States. And there was all sorts of back and forth. You know, Binance portrayed these investigations as part of a negotiation. The U.S. government, at least when Biden was running it, portrayed it as a serious prosecution. I think the expectation here is that they are going to come back into the United States, and that Changpeng Zhao, who said he was getting out of crypto, is going to come back in. Although we don't know that for sure just yet.
Sam Bankman-Fried is sitting in jail, shaking his head, saying, "When is it my turn?" Ken, can we please just talk about the way it looks? Someone deeply involved with Trump's business, a specific business of Trump's that has made him astronomically wealthy. This man gets a pardon. Does this not raise a lot of questions about the integrity of the White House?
Yeah, and the pardon process has been a particular source of concern for, not just good government advocates, for really anyone who's concerned watching the blatant transactionalism of the Trump administration. We've seen a number of pardons go to people who were prosecuted for crimes related to their crypto ventures. We've seen other instances in which the DOJ has dropped charges against crypto people who were convicted of crypto-related crimes, including this Roger Ver guy who went by was known as Bitcoin Jesus for his sort of early evangelism on cryptocurrency. He hired Roger Stone and Brian Ballard. So we see this pattern where there are people who are convicted of crimes, oftentimes pleading guilty to crimes that are sort of in the remit of the Trump organization and the Trump family's business, who are able to position themselves for pardons by hiring people around Trump. And in this case, by doing a deal. I mean, it's tough to ignore that this $2 billion deal, came not long before this pardon. It definitely lends to questions about the use of the pardon power and really all the other levers of the presidency.
It doesn't matter who the president is. Lots of people never feel good about pardons, but this one is extraordinary. I can't let you guys go until I ask, and I know the news just broke, so the information you have is limited, but just before we went on air, Ken, the president posting on social media, all trade negotiations, all progress made with Canada, done, finished, off the table. He didn't like it, some sort of advertisement where a soundbite of President Reagan was used. I'm guessing one that all of us have used on air over the last 6 months when President Reagan was accurately describing how tariffs work.
Yeah, I mean, this really illustrates the degree to which everything is personal for Trump. These are very important economic decisions that affect the entire world economy, and he's getting upset and breaking off negotiations because he doesn't like an advertisement. It's really so much of this is driven by grievance and ego. This seems to be yet another example of that.
Max, your take?
Yeah, I mean, I watched the ad, and it was pretty effective. Seeing Ronald Reagan, this great conservative leader, these images that would be associated with economic stagnation, And yeah, you can sort of see why the president is upset, because it's a bad look, because it not only we're not only seeing negative effects in the economic data, but it kind of goes against a lot of Republican orthodoxy, and a lot of kind of Wall Street orthodoxy, centrist orthodoxy. So yeah,
people that support free markets, capitalism, things that are often tied to the Republican Party.